Today I'm here to talk about the 24 and 48 hour readathon. I discovered this readathon through Rincey over at Rincey Reads, and I'll leave a link to the video that she talked about it in the description below. This readathon was inspired by the fabulous Dewey's 24 hour readathon, and the goal of this readathon is to read a total of 24 hours during a 48 hour period, which is this weekend. It will be midnight Friday to midnight on Sunday. So during that 48 hours, you can split up the 24 hours however you may like. While I find it completely unlikely that I will actually read 24 hours, this readathon could not come at a better time. After this work week, I will be looking forward to a weekend filled with reading. So today I'm going to share with you 14 books that I may choose from, and I think it goes without saying that I'm not going to read 14 books over the weekend, but I like to have a wide selection to choose from. I do think that this time I am way better prepared for a readathon and picked books that really go with the flow of a readathon. So let's get started and you'll see what I mean. First, I have to show you some graphic novels that I have picked out for this weekend, although some of these may not actually make it to the weekend. The first graphic novel is Miss Marvel Volume 1, No Normal by G. Willow Wilson and illustrated by Adrian Alfano. This has been getting quite a bit of buzz. Totally worth it. It deals with diversity and gender issues super well, and I'm really enjoying it. I typically don't get into superhero comics, much to my husband's chagrin, but I think this one may change my mind. I'm a big fan of the superhero movie blockbuster trend, but I've never really gotten into superhero comics, and this one may change my mind. I've already started it, and I'm trying to savor it and make it last to the weekend, but I really don't think that it's gonna happen. The next graphic novel is Seconds by Brian Lee O'Malley. I am a big fan of the Scott Pilgrim franchise. The film, while it gets mixed reviews, I absolutely adore it, and it's one of my favorite films, and it's one of the few graphic novel series that I've actually read in its entirety. Really love his art style, and so when I heard that he was coming out with a full color graphic novel, I was super excited. This tells the story of a mid to late 20s young woman who works in a restaurant, is a chef, but aspires to run her own restaurant, and everything's going perfectly well in her life. But then, of course, as life sometimes does, shit starts hitting the fan. But somewhere along the way, she is granted access to magical mushrooms that, when ingested, allow her to redo her mistakes. So I imagine hijinks ensue, and I'm really excited. I've read a little bit already, and I love the art style and the color palette, to no surprise. Hopefully this will make it to the readathon, but it's not likely. The third and final graphic novel that I have selected for this readathon is The Gigantic Beard That Was Evil by Stephen Collins. I first heard about this graphic novel by one of my new booktube loves, Emily, over at Emily Jean. She did a very wonderful, charming, insightful review of this graphic novel, and it basically is set in a society where beards are abnormal and or don't happen, and the artwork in it looks amazing. Really excited about it, and this one will most definitely be read during the 24 and 48 readathon.
Also, I think it goes without saying, if you aren't currently watching Emily Jean, you definitely should check her out, and hopefully future Susie will remember to link her down below because I love her and you should watch her, yes.
Now on to the non-graphic novel portion of this readathon, TBR. The first one is one from my most recent November books that I'd like to read, and is The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. Perfect size for a readathon, and I hear that it's a super fast read and it's totally worth it. Hopefully it gets read during this weekend. Next is one that I don't plan on finishing during the readathon, but I'd like to continue on because I started earlier this week and I'm really enjoying it. Just haven't really had time to sit down and completely immerse myself, and it is The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters. I'm about 30 pages in. Hopefully I can make some significant progress in this book, because I think I'm really gonna like it. The next book, also another, I think, a good pick for a readathon, is The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. This is a novella from the Kingkiller Chronicles, which I read earlier this year, at least the first two that have come out, and I really loved it. And this one is about a character that I absolutely adore from the series. It gives some of her backstory, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I think that this one will be one that I may actually read in its entirety during the weekend. The next one is, I think, going to be another perfect one for the readathon because I can dip in and out of it between other things, and it is Not That Kind of Girl by Lena Dunham. I also really want to read this because it is one of my picks for my hashtag Ladyvember, which was started by Sarah Ashley Reads, which is another one of my new booktube loves. You should definitely check out her hashtag Ladyvember TBR down below. Basically, the only goal for this is to read books by women, about women, and from a feminist standpoint or perspective, and kind of analyze them with that in mind. I'm really looking forward to this. I read the first few pages of this, and I think that this one, it will be really fast to read and also really good to read. Like, I think it's a memoir kind of set up in essay form the chapters are all very different, so that'll be a good one to read during the readathon. Speaking of short mediums, I have St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves by Karen Russell. This is a short story collection, and it is Karen Russell's first short story collection, and it's supposed to be lots of magical realism and mystical, fantastical elements. I read the first few pages of the first short story, and I had a hard time putting it down, but I wanted to save it for this readathon. And again, since it's short stories, I can read a short story, read something else, come back, read another short story, and I have really high hopes for this one. I picked another short story collection for this weekend. Also, didn't hurt that it just came into the library, and it is My True Love Gave to Me, edited by Stephanie Perkins. Like I said, it's a collection of short stories with a holiday theme, as you may have guessed, written by a ton of pretty popular young adult authors. I think that this one will be really fun. It'll be one that I can dip in and out of during the 24 hours that I read this weekend. Next, another one that I think will be really suited for this is Brown Girl Dreaming by Jacqueline Woodson. It is a very interesting format as well. It is a memoir targeted towards middle grade, written in free verse. So, as you can see, not a lot of text on the pages, and these kind of books tend to go really quickly, but it's by a fabulous woman of color, and I think that it's gonna be an excellent read. The format will be really easy to speed through during the readathon. This next book kind of strays from all of my TBR plans for the month, but people keep raving about this book, and I'm afraid that I'm gonna end up getting spoiled on it because it's a book that needs to be approached fairly blindly, or so I've heard, and it is We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves by Karen Joy Fowler. This was either shortlisted or longlisted for the Man Booker Prize. I've seen so many good reviews of this, or at least reviews that have really piqued my interest, including but not limited to Frenchie D and Katie from Effusions of Wit. This may get bumped up on my TBR depending on how I feel. I really need to read this before it gets ruined for me because I have a really good feeling that I'm gonna enjoy it, so maybe that I can at least start it this weekend. And the last three books are books that I probably won't get to or even read any during this, but I like to keep my options open, so I do have these other books available as well. The first one is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. I've been hearing some mixed things from my buddy readers, so I don't know if I'll get to this, but who knows, maybe I'll be in the mood for a young adult fantasy love triangle-y thing this weekend. I mentioned that I was waiting on this book during my library book haul earlier this week, and it is The Narrow Road to the Deep North by Richard Flanagan, the winner of this year's Man Booker Prize, and a heart-wrenching read according to my friend Katrina. I really want to read this sooner than later, but as I've learned from past experience, it's not the best to read a heavy, dark, or heart-wrenching book, and I think that all of those words can describe parts of this book, so I may hold off, but I do hope to start it in the near future. And last but certainly not least, another book that I mentioned earlier this week in both of my videos is 2666 by Roberto Bolaño. It's a tome, and I started reading it. I tried, and I just wasn't in the right mind for it. Again, I think it's going to be another heavy read, so it may not be the best for a readathon, but I like having the option of maybe reading 20 pages or something of this. It's supposed to be a buddy read for the month of November, but I don't know if I'm actually going to get through it in the month of November. But we shall see, and those are all of the books that I have to choose from during this readathon. I also have all the books on my shelves, and I also have all of my books on my Kindle, but these are the ones that I have on my high priority because they're the ones that I'm most excited about at the moment. So we shall see what I actually read during this week. Please let me know in the comments below if you're planning on participating. I highly recommend it. It's a very, very, very casual readathon. All you have to do is visit the master post on the Tumblr at 24in48.tumblr.com and leave a comment saying you want to participate, and maybe leave a link to your Twitter or wherever you're going to be participating from. And as always, please feel free to share any of your thoughts on any of the books that I mentioned here today in the comments below, and I hope to see you very soon with a new video.